G'day, folks. Welcome back to another Beam42 podcast. And the Vegas round is over. Mate, how did you go with your picks last week, Beaver?
What a shocker at the start to the year, right? So first up, Vegas was fantastic. Couple of good games, bit of drama. But unfortunately, I'm 0 for 2. Two unlosable results for me, Souths and the Broncos. So new season starts with a big donation to to Sportsbet. So
Nice. Well, on the flip side of that, I'm 2 from 2, and my sports bet account is looking pretty nice after the Manly game.
cha-ching,
So happy
cha-ching.
days. Yes. All right, buddy. Well, look, let's dive straight into round one games, the remaining six. We start with Newcastle and the Raiders. Just a couple of ins and outs there, mate. Do you want to crack on with those?
Uh, well, ins and outs. Well, I guess looking at Newcastle, Rayleigh still out with a hammy. Um, New recruit Kai Pierce Paul comes in on the bench. Cogger named on the bench, not to start in the halves. So we'll see how long that works for. I think that'll go on until they don't start scoring points, and then they'll need him on for a bit more attacking flair. Um, Canberra, a few outs being Horsburgh suspended and what's his name, second rower,
Elliot Whitehead.
Elliot Whitehead. Sorry, Elliot Whitehead, who's out injured. So the other key in for me is Ethan Strange, right? I think he's a kid who impressed in the preseason, up for a hell of a career, and it's going to be interesting to see how he goes with the ins and outs of the NRL each week. Good to see the kid get a run.
Yeah, agree. And I hope Ricky gives him a real good crack at it. So he's a bit known for pulling the hook early on guys. But the other interesting thing for me is Danny Levi starting at hooker for the Raiders. So no Wolford and Kotrick and Savage starting on the wings. So yeah, we'll see what happens when Sebastian Chris comes back in a week or two. But the other good guy, I think, is Morgan Smithies, who's a lock. Another English guy, go up against his mate from Newcastle, Paul Pearce. Be interesting to see how he pans out. Lots of good talk about that. My take on this is I think Newcastle will win this by 7.5.
7.5. They're going to kick half a field goal, right?
By more than 7.5.
Oh, more than 7.5. Okay, good talk. Right. So I think Newcastle will do it. It's at home. I think they'll be off to a good start. I've got the Knights winning this one by 14.
Nice. Nice. All right, mate. Straight into the Warriors and the Sharks, and with no Nickel Kludstag. What's happening over there at the Warriors?
Yeah, a bit of a surprise, right? They've named kid to be at fullback to a Piki. Um, I thought that they might move RTS to the number one. RTS has been fantastic in the centres in the preseason. So I think he's going to make a big difference for them this year, right? So Warriors look good. I really like their forward pack. Capewell was good for them in the preseason. Defying what I thought would be. I thought he was done and dusted. Stick a fork in him. But he looked good, right? We'll see how it fares for the season. Luke Metcalf back in the halves for Warriors as well, right? Looks good. Um, really, no surprises, I think, from Sharks' perspective. They've gone with what they've got, I think. Finucane off the bench coming back from injury. Toby Rudolph probably could be a starter, but they've gone with Tucci. And Cameron McInnes absolutely wasted at lock. Um, count him in for 50 tackles and 15 stitches every week.
Yep. Well, I tell you what, I would love that Cam McInnes as our hooker over at the Titans.
Oh, for
Uh,
sure.
Make a huge difference.
Tough as.
Yeah. Interesting though with RTS staying in the centres. I think maybe just maybe a fitness thing for them, but he has looked good in the centres. And no Jazz Tavaga, but still a good bench with Ale and Afoa. So look, I think the Warriors will go okay, but I think the Sharks are going to be good this year. So I've got them winning by 8.
I said earlier that the winner of this game would make the semis. and the loser will not make the semi. So I still stand by that comment. And even though it's round one, and I've got the Warriors winning this one. All right, Warriors winning this one by 5 points.
Wow. Okay, 5. Jump on that, bookies. Straight into the Storm and Panthers. And good news for the Storm with Paps being back, mate. How do you see this?
Yeah, look, their back line looks pretty good. Storm, assuming Munster is fit, he plays, right? Which I think he will. Forwards look a little weak, a little short on quality, a bit short on depth. Interesting, Christian Welsh coming off the bench. I think they're looking for a bit of punch off the bench that Nelson used to give them. Sorry, not used to give them, gives them, but he's not giving them this week. That's the issue for the Storm, right? I just think that they've got a lack of depth in the forwards, and that's going to be their Achilles heel. Panthers, Luai's back. Summerton in at hooker instead of Mitch Kenny, who's out for the week because of his Christmas lines. Other than that, they're pretty much as advertised, right? So I've gone the Storms in this one at home, right? In a bit of an upset. They could be shorter forward, but I think they'll be out for a big one, right? So I've got the Storm winning this one by 4 points.
The Storm just never lose in round one, so I think that's just a fair bet. That Storm with Joey Chan starting in the back row and new recruit Sean Bloor not even in the side, I think is interesting.
Yeah.
And just keep an eye out for big prop Liam Henry from the Panthers. I think he's got big raps on him. I think he's going to have a big year, but I'm with you, mate. The Storm just don't lose in week one, but it will be close, and I think it's going to be about 4 points as well. So we agree on one for a change. All right, mate. So then we go into Sydney, and we've got the Eels and the Dogs. There's a few changes and suspensions. What's your thoughts on this one, mate?
Well, look, I'm a big fan of the Eels, as we found out in the preseason podcast. Eels $23 to win the premiership on Sportsbet. Got my hard earned on that. Backline pretty much as you'd expect. Morgan Harper maybe a bit of a surprise getting the start. Forward pack pretty much as you would expect. Decent bench. I think they're in for a good season. Looking at their reserves, they've still got a bit of depth there as well. They get a couple of injuries coming through. So they look good. The Dogs are the ones with all the changes, right? So Taft at fullback. I think that's where it should be. Crichton in the centres will make a massive difference to them in attack and defence. Drew Hutchinson surprising at halfback, but shows where Toby Sexton's at. And then their forward pack for me, I just think that they just don't have the depth to go with the big Penrith pack for me, right? So I got Penrith winning this one pretty easy, right? So sorry, Parramatta winning this one pretty easy, and they're going to be off to a good start. The Eels, I got the Eels winning this one by 16.
Yeah, I can't disagree. I think the Eels are going to be pretty comfortable. I think the big decision there they made was Lussick to start the hook and roll over Hands. A lot of people had Hands starting that one. And Bronson Cherry not starting for the Dogs in the 18, but realistically, that they've got some pretty good centres in Carraz and Crichton. So Kurt Mann and Curran have come off the bench, so that wraps up all their changes. I'm with you, mate. Eels are going to win this pretty comfortably. I've got them winning by 12. So then we go on to the match of the round. This is just going to be an absolute cracker. So we've got Titans versus the Dragons. Titans without Jaden Campbell and Dave Fifita for about 3 to 4 weeks. But how do you see this one going, mate?
Well, going through the teams, I think Kinney would be interesting to see how he goes at fullback, right? You're going to expect plenty of high ball, I think. I like, Cam Pereira's just a class player, right? Grimson, question mark in the centres, see how he goes, right? So He looks bigger than he was last season, so he looks like he's ready for a bit more defensive work. Forward pack still pretty good, mate, considering you're missing the feeder. And I look at your bench, and Jolliff's a big boy. Isaac Liu, front rower. I think you're missing a little bit of back row depth there. I don't think Aaron Clark's all that good. So when you get Fafita back, then I think you guys will look a hell of a lot better. Dragons back line as has been all season. Lomax on the wing, absolute waste for me, right? Guy is very talented. If that's all you can do to fit him into the side, look for him to be one to transfer to the Jookies in the off season, right? So we'll see which Sloan turns up, right? Whether the last trial he scored a try, but led in 3 with shitty defensive efforts. So we'll see what happens there. Forward pack for the Dragons, as expected. We'll see if Blake Laurie plays after that rib cartilage injury. That'll be interesting to see. Then the bench for me for the Dragons is a little bit of a surprise, right? So Viliami Fafita getting a start off the bench. Apparently had a good off-season, pre-season as well. Michael Molo didn't really feature much, but he's got a run as well, right? So I had the Dragons winning this one pretty easy, as you'd expect, being a Dragons fan. But I've kind of switched it around, and I've decided to put the kiss of death on the Gold Coast, right? And I'm going to back the Titans to win this one by 2 points in a really tight one. But I'm hoping that my early season form with tipping continues, and the Dragons actually do get up and win it.
Nice. I like your logic there, mate. Look, my fears with Keeney are a little bit like Sloan. Can attack like not many others, but I'm worried about his defense. Brimson openly said today in a press meeting that he's not thrilled with being in the centres, so look for a bit of disruption there. And Isaac,
and he's going to have Suli running at him. Suli and Ravalawa were just tore the Tigers apart. So interesting to see how he stands up defensively, right? It'll be a real test for him.
Well, at least he only has to deal with one of those with Ravalawa out for 3 weeks. So that's huge. Isaac Lilly playing his 250th. So that, at least it's a milestone game for him. Look, I got the Titans winning this pretty comfortably at home. It's probably the only time I'll say that all year. I've got them winning by 8. And mate, I'm over at Mix this weekend, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, it doesn't fall down.
Nice. Yeah, that's right. That's right. The winner will be the breweries who will have a lot more sales. So.
Correct. And the last game of the round is a Queensland affair with the Dolphins versus the Cowboys. Dolphins with no Gilbert. That's really sad. But Ray Stone into 13. What else is happening over there, mate?
Yeah, it's not a bad looking side. I mean, Cody Nikorima getting the run at 6. And young Katoa not even in the 17. A little bit of a surprise for me, but shout out to Cody's wife. Yeah, that's a bit of a surprise. Other than that, their Ewan Aitken couldn't get a run as well. So the one I really like in there, I like Max Blath, right? I don't know if you've seen much of him play, right? So he looks a good thing for the future, right? Tough as, right? So he's going to be a good in for them, and I really look forward to seeing him play. Really happy Jared Wallace isn't playing because he just annoys me every time I see him play. Cowboys, well, they lost Cohen Hess last trial. Tamalolo comes into the front row. They're still pretty strong, right? Cowboys, right? So, Tamalolo getting a few more minutes with a bit more expectation. Good to see how it goes, right? So, shout out to Zach Labour playing in the centres, right? PNG boy. So shout out to our fans from PNG who've been watching intently, right? So I've got the Cowboys winning this one pretty easily. I've got them winning this by 12 points.
Yeah, a little bit surprised with Jake Averillo not making the side over Tessie New. I think that's a surprise for me, but uh, Uncle Wayne loves his Tessie, and a little bit unlucky for McKaylee not to make the side for the Cowgirls as well. I thought he was really good in preseason and deserved a spot, especially with Cohen Hess going down. But look, I'm with you. I've got the Cowboys winning this by 8. I've got about 5 players in my fantasy team, so I hope they all go really well. And yeah, well, good luck to everyone, and really enjoy the footy. And we'll talk to you next week, mate.
All right. Good luck. Talk to you later. Go the Red V.